Welcome everybody to my channel. Today we're doing a painting tutorial for a dragon eye. We're gonna go over what we need and that's going to be fantastic. Yes, it is. You can see that I've got myself a canvas and you can use whatever size you want. I have taped it down because I'm using canvas paper instead of an actual fence. But let's get into the supplies. For our supplies today, we're going to be needing a 1-inch flat brush, a 1/2-inch flat brush, and of course, the most important brush, the detail brush for the details. We're going to be starting off with our primary colors, that being red and blue, and of course, a little yellow. We're also going to be needing some black and white. Yes, of course we are. Indeedly do. Be sure to shake the jars before you pour them out. Now, as far as what kind of brand to use, I typically use Craftsmart and Apple Barrel. They're very affordable, and as long as they're acrylic paint, we're good to go. Of course, we're going to be needing a handy dandy rag and a clean cup of water to clean off our brushes in case we make any of those happy little accidents that we all know and love. Once you've got them all poured out nice and properly, we're going to grab our 1-inch flat brush. Yes, we are. Beautiful, beautiful brush here. And we are going to start off with a little bit of white and a little bit of yellow on our brush. And I'm going to swizzle it around on my palette just to let it blend a little bit. And we're just going to give ourselves kind of a blueprint, a pattern for which to follow that will carry on through the rest of the painting, just like a little guideline. So we're kind of making like this little lemon shape here, nice and pointed at the ends, and we're gonna build off of this, curving down and around and just expanding as we go. I will go ahead and forewarn you that our painting's not gonna look very impressive here in the beginning, and in fact it's going to be looking kind of like a rotting avocado. Don't worry, it'll be okay. I decided to go ahead and mix a little bit of my yellow and my blue to create various kinds of greens. And you'll notice I've also got kind of a turquoise color also, or aquamarine kind of color here. And there's no wrong way to do these colors as long as we've kind of got a greenish bluish vibe. We'll just go ahead and create those colors along the way. I want you to have fun with it, okay? It doesn't have to look exactly like mine. So again, we've got ourselves our little avocado shape, little hot pepper going on, and I'm gonna take my brush, holding it vertically, right? That just means long ways up and down, slightly at an angle though. So I'm using the nice narrow part of the bristles, and I'm gonna follow the exact same pattern that I did before, right? It's just gonna create this kind of pepper lemon shape. And you can see that it's similar to my yellow. So there's a little bit of green in there, but it's very much on the yellow side. And I'm just going to expand that shape. And then I'm going to get a little bit of green, a little bit more green, and add to it. Now, the blend doesn't have to necessarily be perfect. I myself personally like to have quite a bit of blending going on. But it's okay to have individual stripes. This will help us for later on. So then I'm gonna dip a little bit of that blue creation that I made, that greenish blue creation, just a little bit onto my brush and swash it across, okay? You can probably start seeing the avocado belly starting to form here. And we're pretty much trying to get darker as we go away from the center. So almost with every stroke, it's just gonna start getting darker, and I'm now going to start getting wider and bolder with this stroke, right? I want to take up some more area. This is all to help with the illusion of the scales later on to help us out. So kind of just change up the shape. You notice I made it a little bit rounder rather than just swooshing it around everywhere. And so like I said, we're just trying to get darker and darker as we go. And don't be afraid to fill up the page. Again, there's no wrong way to do this here. So it's just some fun, happy colors. You can kind of swatch some more green in between. As long as we're carrying on that shape, the brushstroke pattern, very important here to help us to know later on where to put the lines, right? It's a nice guidance. So we're just gonna fill up the space, like I said, getting darker as we get closer and closer to the edge. Now I've kind of filled up, got a nice, like I said, avocado going on here. I'm gonna clean off my brush. I'm gonna return to that later on, but I just wanna go ahead and show you what we're trying to do here, in case you're wondering. So I'm switching over to my 1/2-inch flat brush, and we're going to go into the center portion here, right? And I'm going to just dab. We want to make sure that we're not necessarily overfilling this space. So I'm going to go into my yellow here and get some red, and we're going to create an orange color here. And I'm just going to go ahead and fill in this space here. Don't worry, things are going to change, but we're going to go for a very, like a menacing kind of dragon. You know somebody's kind of a bad guy when you have red eyes. But I'm going to lighten it up a little bit with some yellow here. Again, creating kind of like an orange color. It's all good. Now it really does look like an avocado, I will say. So you'll see that our dragon eye goes through many transformations here. I'm going to add a little bit of yellow and white here towards the center. And instead of following the same pattern and filling this in, you'll notice that I'm brushing outwards, like from the middle of the eye outwards, and going in a circular pattern to create essentially the eyeball itself. But mixing it up, play around with this. Again, no wrong way to really do this. Have fun with the colors and just kind of go with it. Now I'm just kind of cleaning up the edges here just a little bit, lightening up, dabbing back and forth between my red and my yellow. Now it's time to switch over to the detail brush. Yes, indeedy. We're going to use our black paint. Now it's important to make sure that the tip of this brush stays nice and pointed, so you'll notice that I'm rotating. I'm not like dipping this into my paint necessarily. I'm laying it across and then rolling it in the paint so that way it stays nice and sharp at the tip. Now all we're gonna do after I've let the paint dry for just a little bit is pretty much outline the shape of the eye itself, right? Pretty simple, almost like we're putting a shadow around the pit of the avocado, but we're going to quickly turn this into a dragon's eye. So you remember I said it's important to leave behind some of those individual stroke patterns along the outer portion of the eye, and you'll see that I'm using them as a guideline. Now they don't have to be exact here. They're just meant to kind of help us along to know where to put the black paint. But take your time here, and I'm just going to put some thin and thick versions of these lines around the edges. And I'm also getting wider as I go along. You'll notice that the lines were a little bit closer together when they're more towards the center of the eye, and then now I've really given a gap in between the lines. So this is what we want to do. So that way it also helps with proportion, right? The illusion that the scales are getting bigger the further away they are towards the eye. Pretty simple, easy little tidbit right there. Now you'll notice that I kind of added a little bit of a turn towards that corner piece of the eye, and that's going to help us with the next portion of the painting, which is actually creating the little individual scales. Now again, talking about proportion, the scales furthest away from the eye are going to be the biggest. So I want larger gaps in between each scale. And I do curve them a little bit. You could probably see, because of the pattern that we left behind with our color, how we need to curve this. If not, follow my example and that'll help you out. But look what that does for our face already here. And then I slightly changed the curvature there. Trust your artistic abilities here. You know what looks right. You just got to tap into it. So that first go around, you can see the scales are much larger. As I go closer and closer towards the center of the eye, the scales are going to be much more close together. Once I have all those scales filled in, and you'll notice that the highlights pick up very nicely where they're supposed to, I'm going to go in towards the eye and create a little bit more definition in the eyeball. Just kind of play around with the colors here. Thick and thin lines really help to make things look a lot more organic. Now it's up to you what kind of iris you want to have for your dragon. Do you want a scary dragon? Do you want a friendly dragon? Do you want a menacing dragon? Maybe you want a zombie dragon. It just depends on the kind of shape that you create for the iris. If you have a slit, it's definitely a lot more snaky snake-like. You could put a diamond pattern in there, kind of keeps it neutral. If you do a circle, it keeps it a lot more friendly. Feel free to play around with the shape of the iris. Very integral to our dragon. And then as a nice final detail to the eye, I like to clean off my brush and then get some white paint and put catch lights into the eye itself there, just to give it a little bit of a shine. And then I do add a little bit, just for funsies, just a little touch of realism there, off into the corners, because anything that would be damp or moist right over in the corners of our eyes has a reflection. Once you get all that down, that would be how you paint a dragon eye. If you would like to, if you so choose to, we can expand on this avocado eye here. I will take my brush that's been sitting in my yicky water, and whatever's kind of left over in that brush, I'm going to kind of pat it off, and I don't want it to be dripping wet, right? I'm just going to kind of rinse it out and then take whatever's left over in that brush and just kind of fill in the areas around there. You'll see that it's softer, right? You can always play around with the colors of your paint. If you really want to fill in the canvas here, just kind of spread it around and have fun with it. Super cool. Makes it look a little bit more complete, perhaps. Again, this is just an artistic choice. It's up to you. It's your preference. It's your creation. You know what looks good to you. And yeah, that would be how we paint our dragon eye. Fill it all out. Pretty simple. You too can do this. I believe in you. I know you can. If you did participate in this activity and you want to show it off, I would love to see it. I really, really would, because no two dragon eyes are the same, and everybody has something to bring to the table. And if you want to hit me up on Twitter and post it, then I would love to see it, and I will retweet it. Yes, I will. I would love to see it. Thanks for watching. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Be sure to hit that like button. Catch you later.